All right, welcome everybody to the IAT 312 Game Design Spring Showcase. So, if you don't know, today we're essentially going to be going over 10 digital board games from 10 teams based on transformative topics from the students in our class. Also, just in case you have never attended a Twitch stream before, I'm just going to go through some general things on what is happening today. So, I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller and show you my screen. All right. So, oops, switch the screen quick. All right. So this will create an infinity pool, but essentially, if you're looking for any links today and you're on this Twitch stream, you can actually go below to some of the panels. So I have two showcase panels specifically set up for today. One is the wonder.me, so that's what we'll be using in about 30 minutes to have any discussions or even play the games that are going to be presented today. And this other one is the showcase. So the showcase link is the link to the iSpace website and all of the showcase details. So this will tell you all of the details you need to know in terms of like when everything is happening, and also more details specifically on each team, their project pitches, and there will also be a link to each of their websites. The other thing is wonder.me. So if you click on that link, it'll bring you to here. So the first thing I suggest you to do is that you'll actually have to set up your webcam and picture, but then you'll be set here, which will probably be pretty zoomed in. So what you're going to want to do once you're here is you're just going to want to zoom all the way out so you can see all these different rooms. Now in these different rooms, you'll essentially see different rooms for different games. So this one is like 1.1 surviving change. So to get there, you would just have to like move over. And then if you go into a circle, you will start a video call with that person. If you are looking to talk to the instructor, Bernard Rique, he is going to be over here in the Meet the Instructor. So I can actually go join him right now just to show you exactly what's going on. So my camera's not set up, but essentially right now I'm in a call with him. Okay. So I'm gonna leave just for showing that. And last thing is that just to show you guys the times for today. So this is all on the website, but essentially at for the next 30 minutes we're just doing an intro with me and Bernard. Also, if you don't know, I am Noah Miller and I'm the TA for the class, and I'm also going to be hosting this Twitch stream. And Bernard Rique is the instructor, which he will be talking here in a few seconds. So at about 3 o'clock, once this is done, we'll be doing 15-minute interviews with each team. So, which will also be showing gameplay. So those will be teams teams 2-1 through 5 from about 3 to 4:15. Then we'll do a quick 15-minute break. And then after that, from 4:30 to 5:45, we will be doing teams 1-1 through 5. And again, you can see what those games are and the info on the website. And then we'll just be wrapping things up from 5:45 to 6. So now I can actually throw things over to Bernard. I just have to do this and hand things over. All right.
So one of the big challenges, of course, was really
There,
how
Bernard,
to make
you were
this.
muted. You want to restart real quick? Sorry about that.
Oh, I shouldn't be muted.
No. I was mute. It was my side, not yours.
Oh, okay. Sure.
We're all good.
Okay. I'll just start again. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can hear me now. So I have the honor to really share some of what our amazing students did in this Foundations of Game Design course. So I'm Bernard Rinke. I lead the iSpace Lab, and normally I would be teaching this class at Sam Fraser University in IAT in Surrey, but during the pandemic, of course, we can't do any of that. So one of the challenges when I took on that course for the semester was really how to try and teach an engaging course during a pandemic. And it was pretty clear I don't want to teach and lecture for 2 hours straight. That just doesn't make any sense. That would just make people fall asleep. So in game design, one of the key things is really these iterative user testing and agile. So we basically wanted to take on the similar approach in our teaching. So we all as instructors hope that there's some learning happening in the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. And typically you use homeworks and projects to link this. What we wanted to add a lot more was basically what's sometimes called a flipped classroom approach. So really helping people learn at home where you can actually pause the book, pause the video, look things up. And we wanted to incentivize this through lots of activities, exercises, so people really can read with a purpose and have something to do. This is also sometimes called just-in-time teaching, where really Noah and I got a lot of feedback from the students pretty much every week, about 24 hours before the lecture, and we could use this to really try and tweak, improve on, and without the amazing feedback from all the students, we would not have been able to really adjust this course pretty much in 13 sprints, so basically every single week. And the hope and the idea is really that at home, students can really start learning the basics, and then through the activities applied, and then in the lecture, we can actually do a lot more interesting and interactive things, which is really part of what we're excited about. Now, how to make this work? One of the key things for us was really to find a way to really do board games in an online setting. So we use Tabletop Simulator, which is an online board game simulator. And the other real challenge, of course, how to really engage students in a lecture, because everybody has already Zoom fatigue, looks at too much screens during the whole day. So this time we experimented a lot with what's called an online whiteboard, a Miro, and we started off simply by seeing like, where do people actually come from in this class and where they currently live. And we did a lot of parallelized activities. So they all 40 people in parallel really could write on sticky notes and brainstorm, reflect, vote, comment on things like, okay, why would you actually want to learn game design? What kind of user experience or feeling are you really looking for when playing games? And the students already came up with a lot of really interesting part that's also described in a lot of theories, like these accomplishment, kind of easy fun, connecting with people, which is exactly what some of the game design frameworks like this one had. So in the second project that students did, they were asked to focus on what's called people fun. So any reason why you would want to hang out and play with friends or strangers. And in the final projects, we'll go more into that later, we task people to also include something that really has a purpose that goes a bit deeper. And to bring this all together, we ask people to position themselves and see, like, okay, where do you stand in some of these different frameworks? So ask people to go into this a bit more. Oops, sorry. For example, figure out, okay, where's the game they're currently laying in this framework? What's your preferred fun type? What do you really want to play, and what's really in these different aspects? Because all good games really incorporate at least 3 of these factors. There was a lot of self-reflection in the class as well. So for example, we asked students to fill out this brain hacks question, which is really about different player types. And then in their team, ask them to figure out, okay, what's the distribution? What kind of player types do you have in your team? And what are the opportunities and threats of doing that? So one of the key aspects of this class is really the idea of game design as problem solving and also designing from the inside out. So a bit similar to this Pixar movie where you have the basic core emotions. We really wanted to ask ourselves first, okay, what's really a problem, challenge worth addressing with a game? Because a game is such a powerful tool. So what's the purpose? Then to look into, okay, what's a theme and emotional experience that would really align well with that purpose? And then and only then really use all the toolbox, all the kind of tips and tricks we learn to really design such a game. So to do this for the last project, we asked people to really reflect what they really care about deeply enough that it's worth creating a team, and then in their team together figure out, okay, how could you come together and create something that the team really cares about, and also look into their own experience. And I'm really quite fascinated and honored to see what the different topics and projects the students came up with. Yeah, so that's my little intro over the course. Noah, do you have any questions?
Thank you for that. So I might actually leave some questions until after we show the project pitches, just to give you everybody an idea.
Mhm.
And then we'll do questions after that. The other thing is that I just wanted to mention to everybody that you do need a Twitch account to actually type into the chat, but we will be answering questions outside of this first 30 minutes throughout the entire showcase. So if there's any questions about the games or for Bernard during this time, feel free to type into chat. So just to give you a preview of the 10 games that you see in the posters in front of you, each one of those teams made a project pitch video that's about a minute long. So we're going to play those, and then after that, we're going to have a quick Q&A with Bernard.
Excellent.
All right.
The population of reindeer and caribou has declined from 4.7 million to 2.1 million over the past 2 decades. Climate change and human factors are the main cause of this problem. A Caribou's Rocky Road. A Caribou's Rocky Road is a transformative game where each player attempts to lead their herd during migration. They must navigate through treacherous terrain made even more difficult by climate change. Players draw movement cards which indicate the possible directions in which they can move. As herds pass through forests and settlements, players draw event cards that describe real-world situations, such as forest fires where members of your herd will die. The goal of the game is to migrate safely without losing all the members of your herd. Can you help the caribou safely cross these rocky roads?
Are you frustrated with not being motivated to study? Are you stuck with too many tasks to do and not knowing where to start? Are you still deterred by goals that are too difficult to achieve? Now open the 7-day experiment. Learn about procrastination and get rid of it. 7-day experiment is a strategy card game. This game simulates the 7 days of life for a procrastinator on the board. Players need to complete their task 100% as quickly as possible.
Have you ever dealt with self-esteem issues? Do you ever think you're not good enough? Well, we have the game for you. Edit Profile is a game where players have unique characters and must improvise why their traits are beneficial to have. In this social card game, we want players to know their self-worth by changing their mentality and thinking positively about certain traits. Players are presented with several traits and strategically create characters using those traits. Players then must persuade the judge on how their character with dry elbows may be seen as handy and offer you moisturizer whenever you need. Some traits may relate back to players, making them think about their own personal traits in a new way. With many people nowadays having a hard time accepting themselves, This game can help build your self-esteem and accept yourself for who you are and what you are.
Eco and Eco is a strategy-based card game where the player will need to make decisions that would help their in-game business become monetarily successful, while taking into account their impact on the environment. Every decision counts, as choices made early on in each match will have lasting consequences for every player in the game. Being too wasteful and or destructive will lead to an ecological collapse, which means every player will lose the game. Players must find the balance between running a successful business without destroying the environment. Will you ruin the natural world in the name of profit? Will you be willing to use your own hard-earned profits to protect the environment? Or will you find the perfect balance and run a successful business while being environmentally friendly? In Eco and Eco, it's up to you to learn how to shape the future of your business and the world.
Day in the life of an animal, peacefully enjoying their natural habitat and doing what animals do best, trying to survive another day. They are clueless to the changing world around them, but change is coming, and it's coming fast. We humans are the cause of this change, and we have been destroying ecosystems. Experience the progression of climate change in a new perspective as you play as a species of animals trying to survive in a bountiful ecosystem. Players compete to become the most prosperous species while humans' activities threaten their habitat through the effects of climate change, ultimately turning their natural competition into a test of survival. Humans' everyday habits add up to impact climate change, and the natural disasters that are changing your environment become more apparent. Choosing how to react to climate change amidst a competitive ecosystem will test your ability to adapt to change. Your decisions as animals will make the difference between survival or extinction. Change is coming. What will you do?
you play with other people that you might or might not know. And a game can really help to go deeper, to explore different aspects. And so there's different fun aspects, like in one of Lazarus' framework, for example, there's hard fun, so really trying hard to compete, Fiero, mastery, and so on. There's people fun, which is kind of the social aspect, which is really important in this pandemic. There's the easy fun, and then the transformative fun is really where you get more out of the game than just the fun of playing it. So for example, you learn something different about yourself, maybe about others, maybe about a topic. And so we wanted to explore this, and games in a way provide a safe way of doing that. That is also fun. So we figured, okay, that's really a win-win situation.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree. The thing I love about games is that they really give you an ability to like experience different aspects, right? So then you can like experience these different things and potentially have more emotional impact than some, for example, watching something on a screen or like reading something of like really engaging like with the topic. Um, so yeah, I guess another thing is that we are in the pandemic right now, and as much as we saw the picture of Seattle at the beginning, a lot of us haven't seen that in a year. So, how was your experience like transitioning online and teaching this course online for the first time?
Oh, well, certainly I had a bit of a teaching anxiety, to be honest, when I prepared this course, because I was like, I really want people to engage, because otherwise they could just, whatever, take part in online MOOC. So I really wanted to find ways to create an online experience that's not necessarily the same as the physical one. That's impossible, but that gives people a chance to really connect to each other and learn more about each other, especially in this pandemic where people are sitting so much behind. I mean, we have people from, I don't know how many different continents and countries in this classroom. So in a way, it's an amazing opportunity to really work together and try and see how far we can take this. And so in a way, as I showed, for example, we tried out a lot of different tools. And this is also the first time we live Twitch streamed a game design showcase. So in a way, I think it almost forced us to experiment. But at the same time, we also always want to make sure, no, it goes in the right direction. That's why we got weekly feedback from the students, which helped so much. So again, thanks to all the students who provided super valuable feedback, and obviously for Noah for co-facilitating and co-teaching this course.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there was so much good feedback this semester, especially at the beginning, as we were kind of finding our own footing in the online course. And yeah, I know it's super interesting with online, especially when people are not even in the same continent right now. So dealing with teams, getting teams together that are all in the same time zone so they can work together. There's a lot of random challenges that you kind of find out halfway through. Um, but yeah, is there how do you think that this will transition to back when this is all over? So is there anything that you're gonna like take back and use from the online into the physical?
Actually, there's something about online teaching and everybody sitting behind the screens where if you take advantage of it, you have the opportunity to parallelize a lot of things in class that it's much more easier done online than in the real world, in the physical classroom. For example, like we experimented with Miro whiteboards. I showed a few of them. I think that's actually something I would like to keep. And if like the idea of having a live streamed game design showcase also allows people from different countries, like allows students to invite their friends and family and parents or whatever to share what they did, which really wasn't possible before. So there's something about the ease of accessibility. So for example, we used to just do physical board games, which is great. I love those. But through Tabletop Simulator and other software like that, you can play with people in different countries, different time zones. And in a way, it's also a way to stay connected. And if the games are done well, like for example, or are transformative, purposeful games, then it can also really help to deepen the friendship because you learn something about each other or go through a journey together, tackle a challenge together. So I think some of these aspects, I think I would like to keep when we go back to the physical classroom. So we basically merge together the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I like that sentiment of merging together the best of both worlds, because I do think the good thing that's happening right now is that since we've been forced to do this, we're kind of finding the advantages of different things. And a lot of people talking about, going just back to physical or online. And I'm hoping that we can start living in a world of like and instead of or, where you can essentially, use all the advantages of both, where we get the accessibility, and then, once we get in person, we also get those advantages as well.
Yeah, I mean, a year and a half ago, I would have never thought about teaching online. And now we're all set up to do this, and there's so many opportunities and so many possibilities that we now have. I think the key thing is really to use it to really help our students and really make the experience more interesting, engaging, and going deeper.
We actually had a question from the chat. They said that the trailers were really clear and well done, which I agree. The students did a really good job. And they said, what were you surprised to learn with these, or the process of probably doing these transformative games?
Honestly, initially, I was like, not sure we could go that deep with an online class, because it's normally I don't ask students in a classroom to really reflect on, okay, what do you really care about deeply enough that it's worth making a game or something out of it. So I was really positively impressed that it worked well. And after we got the weekly written feedback, there was quite a bit of relief. It was like, oh, okay, I think it kind of works. They got the idea that I really wanted them to connect to the topic. And then they often really surprised me by the depth of the reflection, the interesting, or some people really took on really challenging topics. And keep in mind, this is the first game design class many of the students took. So these are not expert game designers. And yeah, and the quality of our students from CIAT, that typically amazes me, because they are so much better at video editing than I ever get. I mean, this is probably the first year where I got into video editing at all, because I kind of had to as I teach online. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Somebody else had a question in chat, which I will somewhat answer. They said, will it be possible to play these games after today? So one is that I suggest that you go into wonder.me, and then you can actually talk to the team members that made this game. So, because we're not requiring them to have it playable after this, but I do know several of them have it available on the workshop, or on Steam Workshop. So you can actually go talk to those teams and potentially get that link. Or feel free to message either me or Bernard later, and we can possibly either ask the team or put you in touch.
Yeah, so basically we'll ask students, we cannot force them, but we would love these games to be publicly available. And as soon as they are, we'll add all the information on the website for sure.
All right. Thank you so much, Bernard. So Bernard will be in the wonder.me in the meet the instructor section. And we will be moving over to the interviews with the game designers and watching some gameplay.
All right,
Do you have
thanks,
anything
Noah.
else? Yeah.
Yeah, so you can just find me on wonder.me wherever I am. I might sometimes be in the instructor, some in the lounge room. So that's why we selected wonder.me. It's almost like a party. Basically, just get closer with somebody virtually, and then you can start talking.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right, enjoy.
Will do. All right. So I will switch over to. So we have Team 2.1 to start. And I'm hoping Team 2.1 can join. Okay, they've joined. So oops.
Try.
No, okay.
Maybe.
I just need to fix my video. Webcam. All right. Oops. Well. Oh, gosh. Give me a second. I also need to join your Tabletop Simulator game. There, quick. Which I will do.
Take your time. Take your time.
Yeah, so if anybody wonders what I'm doing, I'm essentially going in and getting or going into the server in Tabletop Simulator. If anybody else wants to get this password, they can just by joining in the wonder.me and then just asking for the server name and password. So yeah, I'm just gonna ask you what your password is. Is it just 312? Dan?
IAT
Oh,
312.
I got it.
Hold on, there's a screen delay,
No,
so I gotta wait till I hear it on Twitch before I hear it.
Oh, you can just listen to me in Discord. So you can just mute the stream. That'll probably be easier.
All right. When I mute the stream, I don't hear you at all in Discord.
Okay. I'm lighting up green, but here, wait. Can you hear me now? No.
I see you lighting up green, but I don't hear you.
Okay. So unfortunately, it might have to be through the stream, I guess. Okay. Just give me a second.
Yeah, that's gonna be weird with the stream delay.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully we can fix it for the next person. Okay.
That's okay.
All right. Yeah, there is a large delay. All right. So I guess first question I want to ask you, or wait, sorry, I'm messing things up. I actually want to play your product pitch video again, just to like show everybody the idea of the game that people are currently playing.
Sounds good.
So your game is the Unicircle. Do you want
For
to
the record, our game is not about time management,
sorry.
as it says on stream right now.
Sorry. What is it about?
It's about you're not going through university alone, and you can always count on others.
Okay. And what? One sec. If you're another team, try not to join. Because it messes up the time. Okay. Sorry. Time management in university. So what is the issue there, or what are you trying to address in your game?
So right now we're trying to address like a lot of people when they go through university, they attempt to. I'm sorry, it's hard to think with the stream delay.
Oh, because you're hearing yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing myself and I'm confusing myself.
Here, do you want to just see if
So,
you can?
but let me mute myself every time I talk.
Yes, that'll work. Sorry.
Okay. So, what our game is trying to do is we're trying to show that when a lot of people going through university, they try to tackle everything themselves, and then they can really affect someone's mental health, their physical health, and their financial situation. And we really want to deal with like it. university does take a toll on someone's health.
So what exactly is the end message you're trying to get away from? Are you trying to help people deal with university better? Or what is that goal?
We're trying to say that you don't have to go through it alone. You can always come to help others, or you can be the help that others need.
Okay. And what type of game is yours? Is it cooperative, competitive?
It's a little bit of both cooperative and competitive. The game is the winners of the game is there can be multiple winners or there can be multiple losers, but primarily the game is cooperative, as the game is fairly difficult to win if you're playing individualistically.
Interesting. So I'm assuming you tried to like specifically not make it force cooperative because you wanted to like have some people try to do it on their own and then make them realize that, you know, maybe it's easier or better to be collaborate with other people.
Yeah, so we did that with the decisions in our game, where a lot of the event cards involve like helping yourself, for example, at the cost of hurting other players, or the vice versa, hurting yourself in the hopes of helping others, and hopefully they return the favor back, and hopefully the game delivers on that.
Interesting. Yeah, it seems very realistic to me. And I kind of really like the idea of, especially from a transformative aspect of a game, of like where you start out thinking that you're going to do one strategy and then realize another, and then hopefully it can translate back into your real life. Do you want to talk about any of like the specific mechanics or specific aspects of your game that you created in order to facilitate the theme that you're trying to go for here?
So what some of our game mechanics? Hold on. Some of our game mechanics involve like everyone has stats, and then the reason why I call them stats is they all have something to do. So what a player does is the game takes place in two phases. The first phase, which is character building, which makes every game unique, and it gives each player personal struggles, either positive or negative. So it gives every player a unique strategy. And then in the second phase, they actually play on the board. So what players do is they roll their dice to move forward. If they land on a colored square, they roll a dice up, and then they add their modifier according to the color. If it's above the value, then their stats go up, and if it's below, their stats go down. But you can also use help tokens and friend, or you can give someone a friend token to raise or decrease that, or just raise the value. And then we bounce the board around the fact that we're expecting players to help each other. So in order to make it to the end.
Okay, interesting.
I hope I asked that.
I think so.
I had to mute you prematurely, so
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about the technical difficulties at the moment. Yeah. So what inspired you to make this game? Like, are there any other games that inspired you, or any other like types of inspiration, I guess?
so we're all students, so like we just happened to think of like university at the time because you know that's what we're doing right now. And then I came up with a lot of the mechanics for the game, and I was really inspired by like role-playing games such as like Dungeons and Dragons, and with like a lot of the stats and numbers, because I love this numbers and core like mechanically focused games.
Mhm.
Except when we first designed the game, it was way too mechanically heavy, so we actually had to dial it back a bit, choose what was really meaningful to a student, just so it has a bigger impact than just simple numbers in a game, right?
Sure. What in your opinion actually takes away from a game that's like too mechanically complex, or why exactly did you try to like go away from that?
So we actually tried to go away with that because when a game is too mechanically heavy, I'm thinking about what's happening with the numbers. I'm not caring about what's happening in the game. So we tried to make the characters have their individual backstories. So if the characters' backstories were just simple numbers, then I would care more about like, oh, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing, than rather than actually caring what's happening to the character.
Sure. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So we're kind of running to the end of the time for your group. Sorry about the difficulties at the beginning. I was wondering if there's anything else that you wanted to say about your game.
Don't worry about it. I just wanted to say that it's been a great joy to work with my team members. They did a really great job.
Sure. Yeah.
As well as our game taking place in 2 phases, where the character building phase really creates like a dynamic environment. So every time you play the game, it should be different, relatively different every time you play.
Oh yeah, I was actually gonna mention something about that earlier because, like, especially with board games, it's really good that where you have to like deal with different things every time, and the replay value is much higher when you do that. And potentially, depending on how your game is structured, you could potentially have different like transformative moments or different playing with different skills or weaknesses and have that translate back. So you could end up having different
Exactly,
transformative
that's what we were trying
experiences.
to do.
All right. Sorry about the delay. But thank you for talking, and I think now we're going to move on to team 2-2.
Thank you, Noah.
Thank you, Tham. So if team 2-2 could join the Discord, and then I will be joining their tabletop. Hi, Danica. Can you hear me?
Oh shoot, I get that
Oh, I
delay
can hear
thing
you
too.
now. Wait, if you can you hear me in Discord or not?
Yes, I can hear you in Discord.
Okay, then just mute the stream.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. I'm gonna play your intro video before we start the.
The population of reindeer and caribou has declined from 4.7 million to 2.1 million over the past 2 decades. Climate change and human factors are the main cause of this problem. A Caribou's Rocky Road. A Caribou's Rocky Road is a transformative game where each player attempts to lead their herd during migration. They must navigate through treacherous terrain made even more difficult by climate change. Players draw movement cards which indicate the possible directions in which they can move. As herds pass through forests and settlements, players draw event cards that describe real-world situations, such as forest fires where members of your herd will die. The goal of the game is to migrate safely without losing all the members of your herd. Can you help the caribou safely cross these rocky roads?
So your game is sorry, it's like so it's playing in the background. I am going to change the modifiers above. But I was wondering if you could just tell me, kind of like give me a minute pitch about like what your game's about and what you guys are trying to do.
So our game is about the caribou migration in northern Canada and Alaska. And we chose this because it's sort of like a journey narrative. So we could have a start to end sort of narrative that you could play through the game. And it's a good way to showcase sort of the effects of climate change and what people are doing here at home that's affecting these animals. And they do this journey every year. And the more and more climate effects that humans are doing, and also like our logging and mining, it really affects these animals and like directly reflects in the numbers of their herds. So it's a good like showcase for the effects of climate change, I guess.
Interesting. So how exactly did you try to like achieve that in your game, or try to like teach, somebody new about climate change, for example, or human impact?
Well, along as you progress from start to finish, you have your herd, and each tile has a different type of terrain, and that a terrain has a corresponding event card, and the event will be something tied to how humans are affecting the environment. So if you're on, say, one of the factory tiles, those red ones, you'll get the corresponding colored card, and you'll see that um, maybe you lose some caribou due to mining operations, or you lose a turn because you can't get across because there's a pipeline in your way. So
Hmm.
those kind of events will come up. And the second way is kind of it's the border of the board shows the size of a herd. So we wanted like the
Hmm.
visual there as well instead of just a counter, um, to really show how the herd starts dwindling, and you can really see the effects of that.
Okay. So I'm assuming that these counters are for the size of the herd for like each player, and then they go down over time.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, and it was actually kind of funny that you said mining, because I actually pulled the top card on the factory one, and it was about mining. And you lost 2 caribou from your herd. Um, uh, Somebody from chat actually had a question. They said thanks you to pointing to the threats to caribou. The Gwich'in, which sorry if I mispronounced that, would appreciate knowing about your efforts. Have you ever visited the porcupine herd of Alaskan National Wildlife Refuge?
We haven't, but we actually have learned a lot about the porcupine herd, and I think there is one card that mentions the Gwich'in people
Hmm.
as one of the settlement, the Purple Houses cards, because they've been hunting them for generations, and like obviously what they do doesn't decrease the population of the herd, and a lot of what they do, like their whole village really celebrates the hunt. So um, it's not all bad. Like when hunting the caribou is not like the worst part of it. It's that all these other effects are taking away the caribou, which was like a sustainable resource to the Gwich'in First Nation.
Oh, interesting. I'm really glad to hear that you did that research, because I think it's always good to see like both sides of things, or just the fact that like some of these isn't always bad. Um, uh, oh, and that person also said that the 1002 is threatened with oil drilling. I'm
Yeah,
assuming that's the side of the herd.
it's no, it's an area.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
that is like people were trying to protect, and is but it has a lot of oil, so
Interesting.
oil people are lobbying for it. Yeah, we learned a lot about different things like that researching.
Actually, along those lines, I was actually wondering if you could tell me, like, probably like one of the most interesting things that you did learn, like researching about the caribou for your game.
Um, I mean, really, the really interesting stuff is just the caribou themselves. There's some really great videos, or like sad because they're on the road, but like there's lots of YouTube videos of them like leaping over cars, and it's just so crazy to see the way that such like a beautiful wild animal like comes right up to civilization. So you can see, you think they're this like far off thing way up north, like not connected to us, but really like they're leaping over the highway, they're walking past towns and pipelines and things like that. So I think, yeah, just seeing them and learning more about the caribou.
Yeah, and it's also interesting the specific things that you're talking about. So, a lot of the things that you're talking about is kind of like human intervention. So it kind of makes sense, and kind of that your game is kind of on human impact, and that's kind of like your focus. Because I think you just kind of did that accidentally, which is really cool to see. Um, yeah. So I guess did you have any like other games, or do you have any? You want to talk about like some mechanics in your game that help foster your goal?
Um, I guess one thing about our game was like movement, and we went through different types of movement, and like we started with rolling a dice, but that's so random, and it doesn't really reflect the caribou because it's not random, their journey, and it's got a general direction that just gets disturbed, sort of. So we ended up with this sort of interesting movement where you draw movement cards and they can move in one of two directions, or you have two choices of direction to choose from. So I feel like that reflected well, and that was sort of like our own sort of process of back and forth to get to that type of movement
Mm,
where it's restricted, but you still have enough choice to feel like you're having an impact on the game.
hmm Yeah, when I played that, I actually thought that was a really interesting mechanic, and it actually like helped me strategize in the game, which was kind of interesting. Is there anything about like your board design specifically that you put together, or that you want to talk about?
Well, just the border, I guess, was one thing to try and work the counter and to try and work some imagery into the game too. And then what else? The shape of the tile, the hexagon. We tried a few different, and the hexagon at least gave more direction options versus the original like square tiles that we had.
Huh. Yeah. The other thing I just wanted to mention is I really like how you kind of have so you have some of the food and tree and water resources, but that also there's this kind of line of human impact that you like have to get through, right? So there's like, even if you draw this perfect cards, there's no way you can just like avoid humans and like get to the end. um Also, just the person that was has been talking about the caribou and the Gwich'in, they provided a link in chat in case you do want to contact the steering committee for the Gwich'in. Um, so I will save that for later in case everybody wants that. Um, yeah. Um, so I guess were what were like the biggest challenges when making your game, or was there something interesting you learned like while playtesting?
Um, so yeah, we learned. I guess we didn't want it to be random. We wanted there to be a sense of choice on the part of the player. Um, and I guess the thing that took the most balancing and figuring out was the events just happen to you, and sometimes you feel helpless, but that's kind of how they are. So it's a good reflection. So we didn't want to take that away. There were some other events that were caused by like natural things, like
Hmm.
couldn't find enough food or attacked by wolves, and we sort of had to cut back on those because even though they're realistic, they sort of took away from the message because we wanted them to feel the effects of the human factors more than like the natural things. So
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and I think like
yeah.
in general, it's good to notice like the impact of both, right? Or like, another thing that I kind of like about your game is that even you would think that the forest and the food and water are actually like completely good, but sometimes like due to human impact or climate change, you can actually like get one of those event cards, and there can be something negative that happens. Um, I guess, do you want to talk about like any research or interesting events within those?
Um, well, that is one thing we did where like the forest can be a place where they find food, but it can also be a place where there's been clear cutting, and so there is no food, or it could be a forest fire because there's some huge forest fires and they're on the rise. And so things like that would totally block their path. So as those things increase, they're affecting caribou more too.
Okay. Interesting. So Meow Meow Cat is posting a lot of really good stuff in chat. I suggest Meow Meow Cat, if you would like to talk to the game designers, you can join wonder.me, and you can find them. They should be in 2-2 room. The other thing is that in case anybody's on mobile viewers, you can actually type in chat two different commands. So if you do !showcase, it'll show up and give you the link to the website. And if you click !wonder, that will be the link to wonder.me. So I know that panels are kind of hard to find on mobile. So you can do that if you are on mobile. Even though, just forewarning, I've heard suggestions that Wonder is much, much better on desktop. So we're running out a little bit of time, Danica. I was wondering if there's anything else you wanted to say about your game before we go.
Just thanks to my teammates. It was like a tough journey that we went on to try and make a compromise and try and make something playable and fun. So I had a great time working on it with Mika and Fiona.
Huh. Oh, I'm glad to hear.
And thanks for your help, Noah.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the interview. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. See ya. All right. Now we will be switching on to team 2-3. Also, it's interesting. Meerkat said that lightning before climate change was rare, and it's sparking more and more wildfires now. I actually didn't know that, so that's a super interesting fact. It's sparking more and more wildfires now. I actually didn't know that. Can you mute the stream? Or she? Sorry.
You want me mute the?
Mute. Yeah, I can. So I can hear the stream through your mic. You can just mute the stream and then unmute in Discord. And while I wait on that, I will play.
Are you frustrated with not being motivated to study? Are you stuck with too many tasks to do and not knowing where to start? Are you still deterred by goals that are too difficult to achieve? Now open the 7-day experiment. Learn about procrastination and get rid of it. 7-day experiment is a strategy card game. This game simulates the 7 days of life for a procrastinator on the board.
All right. Key, are you here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sounds like you have stream muted too. Awesome. So I guess we just watched your video, but do you mind telling us a little bit about your game?
Yeah. Like in our game, players experience the life of a procrastinator for a week. In our game, players will encounter the procrastination excuses similar to those we will encounter to life, and players need to overcome the excuses to complete their tasks. What we are trying to do is helping players understanding a different kind of procrastination and get rid of it.
Interesting. So what would you say? So what would you say you would like players to like learn or potentially have a transformative experience about through your game?
What we expect is that player enjoy our game while playing, but at the end of the game, the player will reflect on their own. Yeah, like we're trying to provide a simulated environment to give the players a transformative experience. such
Okay.
as the events and excuses. Those things we will meet in daily life.
Interesting. So what motivated you to choose this topic?
Because each of us has slight or serious delays, not only delays in learning, but also delays in our life, which greatly damage our quality of life. And we also believe the society will be better only if the young people are full of energy and vitality.
And so hopefully you're saying that through not procrastinating, not procrastinating, that we can help people have like more energy and have a more fulfilling life.
Yeah, like vitality, like they don't waste their time. Like
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, did you have any like difficulties in your development, or like what was your like biggest challenge when working with this game?
yeah, like procrastination is not actually the disease. Like we choose this topic, but it's a little bit difficult to do. Because procrastination is a like coping strategy for brain to solve the problem most efficiently. But um, but it is inevitable that procrastination will still get us into trouble. Like many people knows it is bad, but it's hard to change. What we do is just spread and at least let people know what types of procrastination are and how to deal with it.
Sure. So do you want to talk to me a little bit about maybe some of the mechanics in your game that help you like achieve your goal?
Yeah, like the players will start with the energy slider and the task slider, and they roll the dice for decide how many steps they can move. Start with Monday,
Mhm.
and if they stay in a different square, that means they need to take a corresponding action.
Mhm.
Yeah, and mm, yeah, and they will win when the task are 100% complete.
Okay. Interesting. So do you want to talk a little bit about like how the energy works, or why you just decided to work with like energy as a mechanic?
Uh,
Or
yeah, yeah, it's also like simulation in our life. Like if you uh, do the task, you need to energy to like to move on, and yeah.
sure. So I do know that you decided to go with like say different types of procrastination because not all procrastination is the same. Do you want to talk about that a little bit and how you incorporated that into your mechanics?
Uh, oh, you mean different type of procrastination?
Yeah, if I remember right, when you were working on this game, you did some research on different types of procrastination, and then I believe based on the emojis that are in your cards, you can kind of like solve different problems with different solutions depending on the type of procrastination. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. Like the different emoji represents different procrastination. Uh, we have. Give me a second.
Sure.
Yeah, and the players, what players need to do is looking for the strategy card set corresponding to the specific emoji with the excuse card.
Okay.
Yeah, to solve the excuse and still move on the task to
Okay.
complete. task. Yeah.
Interesting. So it sounds like if you have a certain type of procrastination that you kind of need like a solution. You kind of need to know what to do, and then if you do know what to do, you can kind of like get through that procrastination. Is that right?
Yeah, if you don't have the strategy card to solve the excuses card, you can use the energy to like redeem the strategy cards.
Hmm.
4 energy for 1 strategy card. Yeah.
Okay, so you can kind of like use your energy to potentially like look up or learn new solutions to your problem. So then you can potentially get a different solution for next time you get an excuse card. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, when the player passed 1 day, they will get 1 energy and 1 strategy card.
Oh,
So
interesting. So when they pass
we
which one?
the days, like different days,
Oh, the
Tuesday.
day spots like these ones.
Yeah, cause from the last play testing, we find the player don't have enough strategy card to solve the excuse card, so we change a little bit. So make sure they can have the strategy card to solve the excuse card.
Okay, interesting. So you mentioned that like if you don't have or the right strategy card to deal with the right procrastination, or the right anyway, so what happens, for example, if you don't have the right strategy card and then you don't have like enough energy, for example, to like get another strategy card?
Yeah, so your excuse cannot be solved, and you have to stay for 1 round.
Okay. Um, and is there anything in there, or and how does that potentially relate to how you the goal that you're trying to reach with your game?
Um, mm,
Like, for example, like when you don't have enough energy and you have to like stay put.
yeah, like all we want to do is try our most to simulate the real life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you cannot think about a solution for your excuse, you have to stay and your task will be delayed.
Mm.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you have to like stay and you can't move because you can't like progress farther in your week or anything or on your tasks because you're procrastinating and you don't have a solution. Is that what you're kind
Yeah.
of going for?
Yeah, and if you like delay one task, you have to like use more energy to uh find a strategy card. It's like you have
Mm.
to use more energy to complete the task.
Okay, that makes sense. Is there anything that like inspired you to come up with this, or like for example, is there another game that you potentially based your mechanics off of?
I have thought activity. It is one mom is trying to like fix her daughter's procrastination by bottling up the time. She saves every little things, and I think it's a fun and meaningful activity, and like making things visualization. Uh, yeah, we wanna try to making the energy and task visualization and mm, let the players know uh, the process they still need to like yeah.
Cool. So how do you win the game?
How sorry
How do you win the
how
game?
the players who complete the task slider
Oh,
uh
okay. So when
slider.
you get that all the way to 10?
Yeah,
Okay. And how exactly do you move your task layer up?
if you like if you draw excuse card and you also have a corresponding strategy card, you got one like 10%. You can move. You can move one right in your task card.
So as you're moving through the week and as you successfully get through
Yeah.
places where you might procrastinate, you get closer to getting your task done. Is that how that works?
Yeah, all the players need to do is try to looking for the corresponding strategy card.
Okay. The other thing is like so we know in this class like we only have like a few weeks to design games. So I was kind of interested in potentially what you would do if you had more time, for example.
I think our dilemmas can be improved, like because our main purpose of our game is help people understand the causes and the solution of different type of procrastination. And one of our dilemma is that players need to make a choice whether to exchange their energy value to for one strategy card. And maybe energy value should not be like used to change the strategy cards. Players may lose or gain energy according to different procrastination situation, like or energy will be used directly to overcome the procrastination, but like a higher cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So we're running out of time. I was wondering if you had anything else that you wanted to say about your game.
I try to play our game and enjoy it.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for the interview. I'm gonna move on to the next team now. Thanks. See ya. All right. I believe we're moving on to team 2-4 now, which I will
Have
play
you ever
their
dealt with
video.
self-esteem issues? Do you ever think you're not good enough? Well, we have the game for you. Edit Profile is a game where players have unique characters and must improvise why their traits are beneficial to have. In this social card game, we want players to know their self-worth by changing their mentality and thinking positively about certain traits. Players are presented with several traits and strategically create characters using those traits. Players then must persuade the judge on how their character with dry elbows may be seen as handy and offer you moisturizer whenever you need. Some traits may relate back to players, making them think about their own personal traits in a new way. With many people nowadays having a hard time accepting themselves, this game can help build your self-esteem and accept yourself for who you are and what you are.
All right. So that was the video for Team 2-4 on Edit Profile is the name of the game. So we have Adrian with us. Hey Adrian.
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good.
I'm assuming you're hearing me through Discord?
Yes.
Cool. Do you want to just talk about your game really quick?
So our game is a social, fun card game that people could play, pick it up for fun quickly. And it's about talking about people's self-esteem and certain traits. We want this game to help people sort of think differently about certain traits other people have or themselves might have, and sort of just have it more in a more comfortable, playful environment.
Interesting. So what type of like game mechanics, for example, or what part of your design did you make in order to like achieve that goal?
So we wanted to have sort of like an open-ended social aspect to the game, sort of similar to like Cards Against Humanity, where there's people they use their creativity in order to win or get points. And we just wanted to integrate the transformative aspect of talking about certain traits people may not be comfortable or just not like having.
Mhm.
So we just introduced we had cards to bring up certain traits,
Mhm.
and just a simple point system of whoever wins the round gets the coin.
Okay, interesting. So yeah, I'm seeing that there's like 3 different like types of cards. Do you want to tell me like what those are and like how they work in gameplay?
So we have 3 cards. We have a good, physical, and personality. The good trait is just something that's structured that a lot of people could have. So it's just that's easy positive trait. It could be something like he's really good at math. He's very kind. He opens doors for people. And the physical and personality are more of the unique traits that certain people might have, sometimes might not like.
Mm.
Um, for example, let's say for a personality, they stay up really late, or physical ones like they have soft toenails.
Mm.
We wanted to have 2 different aspects for those, just because we wanted to really make it more specific when it comes to talking about certain traits that people have, because a lot of people might not like their personal or physical traits that they have.
Hmm. Sure. So what it sounds like is that you have this like good trait, and then you kind of have to like talk about getting over your physical and personality traits, or kind of like spin them in a good light. Does that make
Yeah, it's
sense?
in sort of a way you should like we would want them to sort of use all those traits together, combining together.
Mhm.
So even though one trait might be sort of not that great than the others,
Mhm.
you could sort of use your mind, use your creativity, and think of it as a good way. Let's say someone who stays up late and um, is like very successful.
Mhm.
He stays up late grinding. That's the reason why he's successful, even though sometimes he might
Okay.
not get a lot of sleep. But something, a little something like that.
Sure. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So I think it was mentioned a little bit in your intro video, but like, what are you wanting people to like come away with after playing the game?
We want them to sort of reflect on what traits they have and certain traits they might not like about themselves. Because from playtesting and what we've played with, there are certain characters that were created that really related to certain people playing the game.
Mm.
And when talking about those things, I like say talking about personal traits and what you don't like about yourself outside of a game tends to be really uncomfortable and too personal.
Sure.
But playing a card game makes it more inviting and more comfortable talking about those things.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, so it's kind of like giving a safe space and like
Mhm.
not explicitly saying this has anything to do with you, but maybe something to
Yeah,
come
we
up.
wanted to use those made up characters as an extension. We didn't want to force people to give out their own personal problems. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I just actually noticed that you have like these external character cards. Do you want to
Mhm.
talk about how you're using those?
Yeah, we basically just attached the traits towards the character.
Mm.
So let's say one of them's Timothy. You say, "Oh, Timothy, it says soft toenails, um, and like he's built on athletic." So those traits could be relating to relating to someone else, but we wanted to focus it on that fictional character.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it kind of like externalizes it. So then,
Yeah,
like when somebody's talking about it, they're talking about someone else technically than
yeah.
themselves. Cool. Yeah. No, I think it's interesting. I think self-compassion is something a lot of people need nowadays, and the self-hatred is like a very common thing. Yeah, I was actually wondering, like, what were the biggest difficulties that you had when developing your game?
Difficulties. First of all, we wanted to work on the topic of mental health,
Mhm.
but then it was sort of too broad, so we were thinking of making it more specific. So we went with self-esteem.
Mhm.
Another thing had trouble with were trying to find proper traits because we didn't want to offend anyone or um, make sure that people like understood the cards
Oh,
because
sure.
sometimes we had cards that were too specific that not many people might not understand, so we had to make it a little bit more broad.
Mhm.
But then also we didn't want to sort of offend certain people who have certain traits. We were trying to make it more friendlier reflect on it, but we didn't want to trigger anyone with certain cards.
Sure. Sounds like you kind of tried to make it like more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess. Is there anything that like inspired you to make this game? I guess you said like Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah. Generally, we wanted to stray away from a board game. We wanted something more social. I think something that was more fun to play and just sort of work on. I think a lot of those social games where people just talk a lot or like persuade or argue, those tend to, like, personally, those are really fun to play with.
Sure.
And I feel like a lot of people go back and play those games. And having that type of game being a transformative game, I think it could really help people change their minds about certain traits. I think it'd just be really impactful.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree, and I actually kind of like how you guys went with people fun, because I think like especially when you're trying to make it lighthearted, usually games like this are specifically designed to be that way. So that makes sense. Also, it sounds like you kind of tried to make a game that you wanted to play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think like is always important when people make the games that they love. Yeah, so. I'm interested if there's anything that so it's kind of been mentioned that we only had a couple weeks to make it. I was wondering if there's anything that you're just like, if I had a little bit more time.
Just adding more cards. I think if we added more cards, there'd just be a lot more replayability, and maybe the possibility of certain action cards that could be played to switch up gameplay a bit.
Okay.
We weren't sure whether to include it or not because we didn't want to stray away too much from the transformative aspect of the game, but something like adding more traits to it, or just adding more action cards, or even like a new tier, maybe like a mental trait or something, but something like that would be further like along, like later on, but the little things we wanted to work on.
Sure. I was actually wondering. I don't know this answer. I was wondering if you did any like background research towards this game, and if you learned anything interesting from that.
We were sort of searching just the topic of self-esteem.
Okay.
So what we learned is that a lot of people have self-esteem issues based on, there's like two things, either like something that they like have right now, like a physical feature, or maybe even something that they've gotten from like growing up as like a child. If you were like raised a certain way or like lived in a certain environment, those types of aspects could actually affect your self-esteem and like sort of what you think about yourself. Sure. Like a person who could be successful, like has a good job, gets paid well, may actually feel really bad inside and saying like, oh, I could do so much better, I'm not good enough. So we wanted, because of those things, we wanted to make sure that even those people who may not look like they have sort of self-esteem issues or problems, we wanted to make sure that they're included, or even if they don't realize it, they could reflect on that as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm glad you did the research to put those things in. And it kind of sounds like that's kind of where you got your physical and personality trait decks from. Interesting. So I was wondering if there's any like anything you specifically were surprised by when playtesting, or if there's any interesting playtesting moments that you had.
From our previous ones, this is more gameplay wise, just making sure the mechanics and rules are set down properly so people understood. But during the actual gameplay and playtesting, some people were connected to certain characters that were created. Because like personally, like someone who plays like a lot of games or stays up late sort of like relates to someone who's like, that's what sort of I do. Other people said about that person positively, sort of reinforced like I feel better about myself after hearing that.
Oh wow, that's cool. So you actually had like a playtester play your game, and then they actually had had that experience. Wow, that's actually really cool, which is really hard. Somebody asked, what is your favorite part of the game?
My favorite part, I think, just really thinking of interesting and like fun way to bring all the traits together and think of it in a positive way. When you play this game, sometimes you get easy traits to bring up together, but like certain hard ones, if work together, just make it really blows people's mind. I remember you were playing it one time and you brought like Timo and like soft toenails
Oh.
and something. It was I don't know how it worked, but
Yeah.
it just worked and it was funny too. So
Yeah. Thanks. So it kind of sounds like you like the creative challenge that's created sometimes when you get like really hard cards. Interesting. Okay. So I guess we're running a little bit out of time. Is there anything else you'd like to say about your game or anything?
Just play the game. I'd like to give a shout out to my teammates. So we did a lot of work on this, but yeah, proud of it.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Adrian.
All right. Thank you very much.
See ya. All right. Moving on to Team 2-5, which will be the last team in this section. We'll be taking like a 15-minute break right after this. And we will start with their video. So, Team 2-5.
Eco and Eco is a strategy-based card game where the player will need to make decisions that would help their in-game business become monetarily successful, while taking into account their impact on the environment. Every decision counts, as choices made early on in each match will have lasting consequences for every player in the game. Being too wasteful and or destructive will lead to an ecological collapse, which means every player will lose the game. Players must find the balance between running a successful business without destroying the environment. Will you ruin the natural world in the name of profit? Will you be willing to use your own hard-earned profits to protect the environment? Or will you find the perfect balance and run a successful business while being environmentally friendly? In Eco and Eco, it's up to you to learn how to shape the future of your business and the world.
All right. So we have. Oh, sorry. We have Laura with us. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, awesome. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we just watched your project pitch video. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about your game?
Yeah, so our game Eco and Eco is kind of short for economics and ecology because we wanted to talk about like how small businesses have to balance their decisions because they want to make a profit, but they also need to consider the effects they're giving to the environment. So the way that we try to measure this is we kind of have like an environmental points counter, and then each player is like a small business. So the businesses like each decision card kind of has like how much money you'll make from it and how much environmental impact it will deliver. So you could either have a positive or negative impact depending on the decision. And this collectively affects the environmental points for the whole game. Like, so it affects everyone. And then there's 3 main rounds. At the end of each round, we kind of see like how much environmental damage each business had contributed collectively, and that will affect their profit. So basically, we're trying to measure how impactful some decisions can be and how they have a long-term impact. So we really wanted to encourage these players or small businesses that to work together and collectively try to save the environment while still making a profit.
Interesting. So what it sounds like is that you guys are trying to go more towards kind of like a middle ground of like understanding that it's hard to make a business just being completely eco-friendly, but also like that. Am I on the right track with that?
Mm-hmm. And we have like a variety of different businesses that players can choose from at the beginning. So at the beginning of the game, you're given 3 different business cards, and you can pick the one to your liking, and then you can kind of see what kind of benefits each business has. So, for example, the flower shop is more inclined to get a better environmental return because they're more likely to be more cautious of how sustainable or ecologically friendly they are.
Interesting. So it's like, since like the flower store, for example, it should be probably an eco-friendly place. It says that you get 3 extra money for each environmentally decision. So it kind of sounds like you considered like what the goals of each business are too when making those.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So I guess, what would you say your biggest like challenges were in making this game?
I guess our biggest challenge was like to make sure that it wasn't boring in a way. Like we really wanted to drive that dilemma concept, like choosing between like making a profit and still being environmentally friendly. But we didn't want people to we wanted people to still have fun. So and also be more collaborative. So I think at the beginning, one of the challenges we had, especially during our play test with you, was that you mentioned it was completely possible to play the entire game without speaking to the other players, and we really wanted to encourage cross collaboration and working together towards a collective goal. So how we tried to combat that was we added these alliance and saboteur cards so that you can form alliance with other players or sabotage them depending on what your ultimate goal is. And that's how we really want to encourage communication and that kind of like fellowship type of fun throughout the gameplay.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's a good addition, just for like engagement between players. And I also think it's cool that you have this as well as like this like global, I think, pollution counter. You can correct me on that, but so it sounds like there is like this global counter that everybody affects something. Do you want to talk about that mechanic a bit?
Yeah, so basically, if you see on each of the decision cards, it tells you like your money impact as well as your environmental impact. And at the end, so each round, I could say each player gets to play 3 turns. And then at the end of each round, you recount collectively like how much like each turn impacted the environment. So let's say, personally your business made a positive 3 impact on the environment, but then your opponents did a negative 5 or negative 6 impact, then you overall the environmental collective impact would be negative, not positive, even though you as a business try to be more positive about it.
Interesting. Yeah, I really like how that kind of like relates to the real world, because we all live on Earth, and everybody affects the same place. Yeah. So another question. I see that there's like a red card, a green card, and a yellow card. Do you want to explain what those are?
Yeah, so we divided our decision cards into different categories depending on the type of prompt it is. So the green ones are the more environmentally friendly ones, so that you see like you might not make as much money from it, but you'll see that you're reducing your carbon footprint more based on those green decisions. The yellow ones are the more neutral ones, which are in between the green and the more fossil fuel / business oriented decision cards. So the red ones are the business oriented decision cards where you can make a lot of money, but then at the same time you're making a really bad environmental impact because the amount of fossil fuels you're spending is just a lot higher than the other ones.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like it sounds really good for like visual clarity. I'm kind of dipping into my own knowledge about your game, but I thought it was interesting how I think that you kind of like modeled each color with the same decisions, but like different decisions depending on whether you want to be eco-friendly or not. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sorry, essentially, like, for example, if your game is still the same as before, I remember that for example, you could there was different varying levels of like AC that you could use, for example, right?
Right.
So like, I guess I'll just say that I think it's interesting that the way you guys designed your cards is that you actually had like the same problem
Oh, yeah,
on each
yeah.
one. And then you had like different decisions on how you would deal with that problem based on like whether you're being economically friendly or not. Or
Yeah,
not
exactly.
economically, but
We wanted to kind of give people these different options, but still have like a similar theme to them. So that's why not all of our decisions, but most of our decisions have that same theme. So like for example, playing with the thermostat, either you don't have it or you're like using it every day or something that causes a more negative environmental impact or something like that, depending on the type of color the card is.
Sure. I'm assuming you did like probably a little bit of research or background knowledge into your game. I was wondering if you had anything interesting that you learned.
I think just in general, it was interesting to learn like how the type of economy really affects like the environmental impact in the end. So what I was kind of did some research in was like there is a linear economy and like a circular economy, and the linear economy kind of is like just using like a one-time use plastic cup or something. So it's only just you use it once and you're done. Whereas like a circular economy kind of focuses on like being more sustainable and like recycling things, or having like instead of a plastic cup, your business is using like a glass cup or mug or something like that. So it was just interesting to know that there's different types of economies that affect the environment. Yeah, so one is more fossil fuel inclined and one is more focused on reducing the carbon footprint, the collective carbon footprint. Another interesting tidbit that I looked up was according to a report from 2017, 71% of the world's carbon emissions come from 100, like just only 100 different companies. So I thought it was interesting that from the business aspect, they're affecting the global economy that much.
Yeah, interesting. So you kind of already answered this a little bit, but I was wondering if like what kind of like inspired you to kind of go this direction or pursue this topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so our whole group kind of wanted to go the environmentally friendly route, especially with all like these wildfires and other things going on in the world. We wanted to do something that kind of focuses on reducing your carbon footprint. And I'm a joint major with business too, and I thought it would be really interesting to bring that business aspect to it and see like how it would more differently impact your decisions than if you're just looking at it from a personal standpoint.
Interesting, yeah. So it sounds like you took a lot of like personal inspiration, and it'll probably help you out in other areas too.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Yeah. Was there? How was the experience of trying to design like a transformative game versus just like a game for fun?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, one of our biggest challenges was to really balance the fun aspect of it. Because at the beginning, we're just like, okay, let's just like make sure that we have all the decisions and make it like kind of logically make sense. But as we realized, we weren't really making the players interact among themselves, and that's when we kind of had to pivot a little bit and make sure there was a more interactive component to the game where players needed to collaborate with each other to work towards that collective goal.
Sure. Yeah. It sounds like you were decided to go the route of like focusing on the transformative aspect and then kind of trying to like make your game like funner, like once you had the first part nailed down.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess an easy question. How long does it take you to play your game?
I think from our gameplay videos, like it took around 15 to 20 minutes. Like it really depends on like how quickly you make your decisions, I guess, like each individual player. But the rounds aren't like, it's not too long, it's not too short, like because you have to read through the prompts, and like I feel like as the game goes on, you have to focus more on what that long-term impact would be for each decision. So you can't really just whiz by like every round, because you might have to think about, okay, like how is this going to affect my decisions in the future. So I think it's just a healthy amount of gameplay time, because we're considering that aspect.
Sure, yeah, and yeah, and it's sounds like it's like easy to get into too, because if you have to sit down for an hour, sometimes it's harder for people to play. So sometimes shorter games are better. Yeah, I guess we're running out of time a little bit. I was wondering if there's anything else you specifically wanted to say.
Not really. Just I guess to make it better in the future, we would make it a little more complex or like tweak our design a little more just to be more visual. But overall, I think we did a pretty good job, and I'd like to thank my team, Jason and Juan, for working so hard on this with us. Yeah.
Sounds great. I actually, because you mentioned it, I'm kind of interested if you have any more specifics on like how you would improve your game moving forward.
Just I think, as I mentioned, making it more visual. So maybe instead of just words on the decision cards, there would be accompanying visual with it, as well as adding maybe more different action like alliance or saboteur cards that add a little more complexity to your interactions with other players. Maybe those are, yeah. And then maybe we could revisit the decisions and make a couple more depending on how complex we want the game to be.
Sure. No, I think that all makes sense. All right. I think that's all I need from you. So, yeah, thanks for the interview.
Thank you.
See ya. All right. So, now we're going to take a quick 15-minute break. And when we come back, we will be with Team 1-1, with the game. Let me get the title really quick. With the title Surviving Change. So yeah, we'll be back here in 15 minutes. And I'll just put a timer on stream so everybody knows when we'll be back. All right, see you in a bit. All right. Whip. Oh, okay. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the second half of this showcase. So, second half, we will be starting with Team 1-1. I'm going to play their video quickly, and then we'll get into the interview with Cameron.
Day in the life of an animal, peacefully enjoying their natural habitat and doing what animals do best, trying to survive another day. They are clueless to the changing world around them, but change is coming, and is coming fast. We humans are the cause of this change, and we have been destroying ecosystems. Experience the progression of climate change in a new perspective as you play as a species of animals trying to survive in a bountiful ecosystem. Players compete to become the most prosperous species while humans' activities threaten their habitat through the effects of climate change, ultimately turning their natural competition into a test of survival. Humans' everyday habits add up to impact climate change, and the natural disasters that are changing your environment become more apparent. Choosing how to react to climate change amidst a competitive ecosystem will test your ability to adapt to change. Your decisions as animals will make the difference between survival or extinction. Change is coming. What will you do?
All right. So we're already in the game in tabletop. Welcome, Cameron.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to just tell me a little bit about your game?
Yeah, so our game is called Surviving Change, and it's a turn-based competitive strategy game, essentially, where you're vying for the territory of other animals. You play as one of 4 animal species in the current version, and you basically try and capture territory and then hold on to that territory so that you can sustain your animal's population. But while you're all doing this, there's human events going on in the background that are constantly messing with the environment and making it harder and harder for you as a species to thrive and ultimately survive.
Sure. So it sounds like your game has a little bit of like climate change, a little bit of like human impact in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, I lost what I was gonna say. Sorry. Oh yeah, sorry. What? So through playing your game, how do you want your players to like feel or learn?
Well, the main takeaway that we want from the players is to be more cognizant of the effects that humans are having on not only themselves as a species. So, like, obviously, if sea levels rise and coastal cities are wiped out, that's bad for humans. But it also affects, more importantly, the animals' ecosystem as well, which is not as so focused on in like climate change activism. More so, it's more so about the human impact, and so we wanted to sort of flip it a little bit and sort of focus more on the more not as talked about effects of climate change, and the fact that the animals themselves have they have no control over what happens to them, and it's essentially harder for them to survive because they're not cognizant of it even happening. And so because of that, we wanted players to basically take away from the game that it's not that the greenhouse gases and climate change and pollution is not only affecting humanity, but it's also affecting wildlife. And
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's something important to talk about because yeah, I agree that normally it's just focused on us, but it's affecting like everything in the world around us. And yeah, it's totally true that animals like they don't get to decide or prepare for it. Really, they just kind of have to deal with it, which is like kind of what I feel like is kind of being shown in your game through the gameplay you chose.
yeah, so our gameplay essentially consists of I don't know if you wanted to jump into that, but
Sure. Yeah.
uh, our gameplay essentially consists of 4 players, and they each have their own starting location, which is represented by the sort of the more realistic token on the board. And then they have the models, which are their figureheads, which are the pieces that they are controlling. And somebody rewinded time. Okay, we're rewinding time again.
Yep.
The figureheads are the animal models that the players control every turn, and essentially they can move around, and once they move into a unoccupied piece of territory or a territory that's occupied but doesn't have another species on it, they can basically claim that territory. And then at the end of every turn, they gain resources according to the amount of territory that they control at the end of the turn. And then while they're doing this, every turn a climate change card is drawn. Well, except from the first 3 turns where there's little breathing room because climate change hasn't developed yet. But see, right now they're about to flip over a climate change card, and that effect goes off this round, and then they have to deal with that and try and manage their resources so that they can not only make more of their animal species by reproducing, but also more importantly, not die out entirely.
Interesting. So it sounds like so you're kind of just like living your life as an animal, trying to do your stuff, and then after every round at a certain point, they kind of just get like affected with climate change. They have to kind of deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's,
makes sense. So what do you think was like your biggest challenge or issue when like creating a game like this?
Definitely our biggest challenge, I'd have to say, was struggling with balancing the game to be fair to players and uh, also allowing for multiple strategies to succeed. But that was just a small part of our challenges. I think our actual greatest challenge was the fact that we were initially extremely struggling with how to make this concept work as a game and also how to make it transformative in the sense that we were really struggling with trying to tie the sort of premise and the storyline and the sort of like the transformative aspect that we wanted our players to experience directly into the gameplay. And so it took us a long time in order to figure out how exactly best to approach that. And I don't know if we've necessarily nailed it per se, but we feel confident with our approach that we are at least on the right track. And ultimately, we're hoping that by the end of a session of this game, that players would at least be more aware through sort of their climate change cards how animals are struggling for territory and to survive while also simultaneously not being able to control the territory that they're living in now because humans have essentially taken it over for like climate change.
Interesting. So it sounds like there was a lot of difficulty trying to come up with like how this game would be like transformative. Do you have any like insights on like what you would do if you're trying to make a different transformative game or like next time?
Yeah, so one of my favorite transformative games of all time is This War of Mine, and I know that's sort of like the canon answer because of how prolific and how like genre defining I guess it is for transformative games as a whole, but I mean it's genre defining because it's really good. And the why This War of Mine succeeds is because it directly ties in the premise and the transformative aspect that the game wants you to take away from it, that essentially civilians in a war zone are not all bad or they didn't ask for this. Like, so we sort of wanted to take that ideology and transform it into the animal world. So like animals didn't ask for this. And so a part of the biggest struggle that we found when it comes to creating a transformative game is that tying the premise directly into the gameplay so that players are directly interacting with the transformative aspect that you want. So like with our game, for example, the animals have to fight for territory, but the climate change action card or the climate change effect cards that go off every turn can directly ruin their game essentially. So in one of our playtests, what we had was one of our game designers that we were playtesting with. He was reduced to only one meat tile, and meat tiles are how essentially meat. I know it's not the best analogy because some of these animals are herbivores, obviously, but meat is essentially the resource that you need every turn, or um, your animal faction will die out from starvation. So what happened was the climate change card was drawn, and it said turn a mountain tile into a grassland tile because there was a giant mine that went off and they sort of blew up the mountain and it turned it into like sort of a grassland area. So he now lost his only source of meat and he was on zero meat. So basically he had to take meat that turn in order to live. But because of the way that the game structures works, is because that was his only source of meat, he was essentially doomed unless he somehow won a battle for territory. And he ended up losing the battle for territory and ended up dying out because he didn't have meat next turn to survive. So it's stuff like that. Like, we wanted to sort of really drive that aspect home of, like, it's not the animal's fault that stuff's happening to them, and animals can go extinct literally from no fault of their own just because they're living on a planet with humans, essentially.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point to bring up because I think we already know of like several hundred different like species that has gone extinct due to climate change. So I think like drilling that down in a game and kind of like, I don't know, like having people empathize it with it, because it's like, oh, it's like this is my rabbits, and then all of these rabbits become like extinct through that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's kind of like the experience that you were trying to give
Yeah,
through that.
we were trying to sort of create an emotional attachment by controlling their um their faction of, or their species of animals.
Mhm.
But we also wanted to sort of incorporate a social aspect into it, and that's where sort of the battling for territory comes in, because we found that the game was actually a lot more fun when we introduced the sort of battling for territory aspect. And originally we had it in the game where that you only got resources by claiming new territory, but then we realized that that would just cause people to just keep moving around from territory to territory instead of trying to keep what they already have, which
Mhm.
we thought was a way more important aspect to emphasize than, because that's essentially what happens in real life. Like, no, most animals don't migrate to other territory; they try and hold on to what they have.
Mhm.
So we sort of made that switch over, and so because it's your territory that you're trying to hold on to, and not just territory that you are like interchanging every round by just moving your pieces and then instantly gaining new resources by just moving back and forth constantly, you're trying to hold on to what you have. And the other animals are making that difficult for yourself. The other players are making it difficult for you. And sort of that's where sort of the competitive and social fun aspect comes into the game. And then the transformative aspect is the climate change cards also are constantly making it harder for you to keep control of your territory, and most notably keep alive all of your figureheads, essentially, so that you have control of that territory. Because if your figureheads start dying out but another species is prospering, it becomes a lot more easy for them to just waltz into your territory and take it over. And then you feel, you want revenge for that, so you try to take the territory back, and then it sort of becomes emotional through that aspect. So yeah, we wanted to create that emotional aspect with our players.
Yeah, it's interesting. You definitely have like a lot of conflict in this, and like even though like I played this game and I think it's like really fun, I think it's interesting if you like take a step back and look at it, like how much like struggle the animals are having just trying to live on their own, and then there's like climate change or humans coming in, and then like they have to deal with that on top of everything else.
Yeah, see, they're trying to battle for territory right now, and
Mm.
it would appear that they were unsuccessful.
Yeah, so another thing is that I'm assuming you did some like background research into like different like climate change effects, or you mentioned the I'm assuming it would be like, I guess it's not fracking, but essentially the destroying like a mountain and then having it go to like grassland. I was wondering if there's any interesting thing you learned through that that you potentially incorporated into your game.
Yeah, so a lot of our cards were sort of, I don't want to say that we just came up with them and sort of then went out and found the evidence to sort of support the cards, but we kind of did that at first, and then we also did research on our own, and then sort of based some cards off of that. So like one of the things that we found while we were researching was that because I don't know how true this is. Again, it's just research that we found, but we found an article that said that because the boba tea sort of like, because boba tea is becoming more and more popular in North America, you're getting more and more plastic waste, and more and more of the what's it called, like the boba pebbles. I'm not quite sure what they
The
are, but
bubbles.
the bubbles, yeah.
Yeah.
And it actually, if those are dumped improperly, like, it can actually be choking hazards for certain animals, and so
Oh.
different animals can end up like choking and getting that stuff caught in their throat. And then obviously the plastic waste as well. Like the plastic waste we found was a huge factor in sort of the pollution of rivers and um, like grassland areas. And if animals are hungry and they don't know any better, they mistake that for food, and then they end up choking and dying. And it's like it's really sad. Like so,
Yeah.
it's not only just climate change, which is what we originally wanted to focus on, but we then sort of broadened our horizons and focused on other aspects of what humans are doing that could potentially impact animals. And so that's where sort of those cards came in. But obviously climate change and greenhouse gas emissions, like the factory industry and the amount of cars that have been produced since the start of the Industrial Revolution. I can't remember the exact statistic, but I saw a graph, and it was just every year after year, except for maybe last year because of COVID. It's just like more and more cars every year since 1904 have been produced, and because all that those cars are being made, that's also causing pollution because the factories obviously pollute. And then once those cars become operational and people buy them, that's even more carbon and pollution that's being flung out. So because more cars are being produced, you're getting more carbon or more greenhouse gas emissions from that. And then also once people buy and use the cars, you're getting even more. So it's just like a endless cycle of carbon emissions. And actually today I read an article that's sort of related to our topic, that scientists are extremely worried about the Antarctic shelf, that the Antarctic they called it a doomsday glacier, but essentially they're really worried about that because the stability of that glacier is getting weaker and weaker every year. And if that glacier were to break off from the mainland Antarctica peninsula and then fall into the ocean and melt, it would raise sea levels so much that it would not only affect us, but as humans, because we have coastal cities, but then marine life and other animals that live by the coasts would get
Interesting.
devastated. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's yeah. There's so many interesting things in there, especially with the boba, because like who would have thought that boba would be a problem? But
yeah,
just goes to show you anything that's kind of like mass produced or not handled well can cause a problem. We are out of time, but is there anything else you want to say quickly before we go?
Not really. I mean, thanks for having me. And obviously, the game is still not like fully done. Like we wanted to eventually add more animal species in so that you don't have to play with the same 4 every so often. But yeah, we think that what we have now is a very good jumping off point for something that could actually be like maybe don't want to say commercially viable, but it's something that's like an actual game, like not just like a prototype.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
See you,
no problem.
Cameron.
Thank you. See you.
All right, on to 1-2. Oops. Okay. All right.
Hello.
Hey, so I'm gonna play your video quickly, and then we can get into the interview.
Hey.
Oh wait, it's not working. Sorry. What? All right, team 1-2, Sea Light. All right, welcome, Playtire.
Hello.
So do you want to just tell us a little bit about your game?
Yeah, sure. Our topic is about marine life and the public safe environment. We want to talk about this topic because like all of our team member we like ocean, and we recently read some news about the sea and the ocean environment and those pollution. And yeah, and recently I just heard a news that Japan government decide to discharge nuclear wastewater into ocean, and we realized that's a really serious problem. So we want to show this problem in our game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you want to tell me a little bit about your gameplay and how you try to achieve your goal?
Yeah, sure. So in our game, each player will will play two palms, and there are two tables on the board, and the player will move their points according to their decision, and their decision will affect the public safe environment and also the self-convenience. So we want to deliver awareness to the player, that is their decision is really important. And according to our research, we just realized that most people, they think only people who can only people who have a big power, they have those authority or power to make change to the world. Actually, people forgot their own action is matter. No matter you have power or not, your action is matter, and we all affect the marine life in our daily actions. Yeah.
Interesting. So you kind of just said it, but do you want to say like the message that you want people to get coming away from playing your game?
We want that player can have a awareness that their action is important. Also, we put some all the question on the map. There actually are some problems it will happens in our daily life. We want to player has a view as a normal person. So because they always forgot their own position is also important, right? So in the normal people view, how would they decide? And it's also sort of self-discovery. Yeah. Because it's always questioning themselves.
Interesting. So it's mostly about how your own decisions can potentially impact the sea, and also trying to not, or realizing you can do some without completely sacrificing yourself or your
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah. And your decision affect others. They're winning or losing. Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, your decisions affect the public sea. So how do you win the game?
Oh, the winning condition is after 2 rounds, and the person whose palm is most close to the public safe palms, they're most close, so they kind of have to balance their relationship to the public sea environment. Yeah, that's another point we want to the player can see. So the relationship between human and the nature.
Sure. So you said the person that has the closest self convenience to the public sea environment?
Yes.
Right? So interesting. So that would kind of go along with your theme of your decisions affecting other people, right? Because then if you make a decision that makes the public sea environment go up and down, then it's gonna it may affect someone else.
True.
Interesting. I see you have some animal cards down here. What are these about?
Oh yeah, we have animal cards on there. There are 3 animals cards. So once the public state environment points is lower than red line, then one animal will die. And even it go lower, another animal will die. If all of them died, and game over, which means their action is killing animals and affect other creatures.
Interesting. So you're trying to kind of show that, like, if you make certain bad decisions, that it could actually like affect like the marine life on this one.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I know you did, or sorry, did I cut you off?
Sorry, I'm a little bit stuck here. Could you repeat the question?
Oh no, I thought I cut you off. No worries. I was actually gonna ask you about designing a transformative game and like any like difficulties that you came up with specifically that issue.
At the very beginning, we were really thinking about the point of view for the player. We were thinking about the make the player's view is like animal's view, but we just found that it's really helpless for animals. Like they cannot make any like critical decision like we do. So it's very limited their actions. So we back to the normal people's view, and from this point we just realized that how marine life animals, they are like helpless and they need our helps. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it seems to be a theme, which is interesting because everybody made very, very different games, but kind of like the helplessness of animals when it comes to like either climate change or human impact seems to be a running theme, which I think is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, was there any interesting facts that you want to share that you kind of like incorporated in your game through your background research?
Yeah, sure. We did some research, and there's one effect that's really like surprised me, that actually we're we use sunscreen, right? And sunscreen is actually hurts the marine life,
Oh
some
wow.
kinds of marine life. Yeah. And
Interesting.
from our daily using, and it will not dissolve by the water, so it goes to the like discharge water, and they may discharge to the ocean or lake. Yeah. So we want to like claim more, like call more people to use like physical sun protection. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very conflicting because like sunscreen is like the best defense against like skin cancer. So
Yeah,
did you
I
see
see.
anything about like using alternative methods, or if there's like good sunscreen and bad sunscreen?
I think there are some kinds of sunscreen, they avoid particular like chemical elements.
Sure.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're running a little bit out of time. I was wondering if there was anything specific you wanted to say before we go.
Um, I would like the player of this game pay more like attention on the questions and the decision they were making, because that's really important and the key of the game. That's all. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right. So now we are moving on to team 1-3, I believe. Which is right here, coincidentally. Hello, Alvin.
Hi.
Hey, I'm gonna play your video and then we will get into the interview in your game.
Sure.
So we just watched your pitch video. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your game?
Yeah, sure. What we created is the game called Under the War. So Under the War is a transformative board game that allows the players to kind of experience the life of the Hassan's family. That's the one, the hypothetical family that we created for our games in Syria. The purpose of this game is to help the players build a in-depth understanding and sympathies for the children who live in the war zone. And we hope that this game could push the player to go further to against or actually do something to prevent war. And besides that, we hope this game to be is innovative enough because we just adding elements like encountering different events and struggles in the life in the games, and players not have to keep themselves, and not only have to keep themselves alive, but also have to bring enough medical supplies to back home to save their members. And these kind of mechanics, I think, should be or could be a new experiment for their player.
Interesting. So you actually mentioned the mechanics. Do you want to go into the mechanics a little bit and how that like achieves your goal?
Right. So our game basically it's just a board game, but we split our map into different pieces. So player will start from a place called home, the starting point. So I have to go through all over the map and then just collect enough medical supplies to back home to save their parents. And that's one of our settings. The background setting is the players are the children of the family, and back home they have one injured father and also one injured mother. So they have to bring the medical supply within a certain turn to like actually save their parents. And then about other mechanics of the game, we have some events cards and accident cards, which where player encounter in it, they will have to face decisions of it. And then also we have a resource card which helps the players to keep themselves alive. And we also have some the red cards with the fire guns on the map. That's some of the forces accident card that actually turns the game a little bit harder.
Oh, interesting. So I'm assuming this is like a negative event or something, kind of. What do you
Right.
mean by harder? I guess.
Yeah, because from the previous playtesting, we noticed that we put the accident card into three parts, which one ask for player to give up their food, one ask for player to give up their water, and one ask for player to give up their health. So we think that maybe a little bit too hard. So we actually split the health part and then just put it on the map, and then it's just in within the accident card itself. It's only just requires player to give food or water.
Interesting. I also noticed on your map that there's like different health values and sanity values. Do you want to talk about that?
Right. The health value and the sanity value is the initial mechanics that we built in our first in our original game.
Mhm.
The goal is to help or let the player to like keep track of or pay attention to their choices when they encounter different events. So health bar for sure is when they encounter different things, they might lose health or they might use the medical supplies to restore their health. But the most important part is the sanity part because based on the events, they might have some positive towards effects or they have some negative towards effects. So we really want the player to pay attention to their decisions and just make the choice wisely.
Interesting. Okay. So what exactly do you want your players to like come away with like once they play your game? Or how do you want them to feel while playing your game?
Right. Or for the overall this game design for our game, we just want the player to have a sense of urgency of pressure or pressures while they're playing, because we just want to simulate the kind of tensions or kind of emergency that for those who actually live in the war zone. So we by playing this game, we want the player to not only just have a overall sympathies towards war, we actually want to push them further to actually stand out, or not only stand up, but actually do something for against the war. It could be some minor things like voting for against war, or maybe give us some donations for the people who live in war zone, things like that. So things could be smaller, but we actually want to push the player a little bit further ahead from just only having a basic sympathy for the war.
Interesting. Yeah, so it kind of sounds like you're trying to both evoke like empathy for people in these situations, as well as like a call to action to hopefully prevent it from happening in the future. Is that right?
Right, indeed, yes.
Interesting. So I guess what were the challenges in making this game, or specifically making like a transformative game?
Right. Actually, that's the hardest part of our game creation part, because from the past two playtesting feedbacks that we got, most of them are playtester feels like they basically do nothing but just walk through their characters around the board, and then either the game finished or they die. So they actually don't feel enough, or they don't have enough immersive experiments of playing the game. So we actually put a lot of efforts for changing that.
Mm.
So some changes that we did are, first we add the drama a little bit more. So we enforce the background story of our games. So we create different characters, and we create the families, and we actually basically change the methods of winning the game or losing the game.
Hmm.
So another point is, we also make this game not just only is not just only for fun. We also make it a little bit uh, make it like a thing that actually requires prayer to think about it, and that's what we hope what we did well for making the game in a more transformative way.
Sure. Yeah, so it sounds like you put a lot of time and effort into both like the theme and kind of like creating both characters, and then creating like if I'm right, interesting like decisions or dilemmas in your game.
Right.
Interesting. So I guess what inspired you to like make this game, or like why anti-war, or going against that? Like yeah, what motivated you?
Right. For sure. As I mentioned, because one major factor is, or one of the major factor is, players generally have a sympathy towards war, but basically that's it. And also another important factor is, the because of COVID, the current increasing tens of international trends,
Mm.
which is between countries and countries, the conflicts or frictions are getting more frequent, and only no, I have to mention that actually after the new American president, just Joe Biden has become the new president, American actually restart the war towards Syria. So
Mm.
those are the real things in our reality. So we just want people to know that war has never far away from, but it's actually happening.
Sure. Yeah, that makes total sense. And maybe just like even bringing awareness to things happening is also really good, because we don't typically experience a lot of war here in North America, so sometimes it can kind of be a blind eye to the people that live here.
Right.
Um did you, I guess, like, so do you have any ideas of potentially how you would improve your game if you had like a couple more weeks, or like things that you just like weren't able to get to?
Right. Actually, one kind of design angle, but I'm not sure we have time for that. But if we could have time, or if we could have known these situations from the starting point of our transportive fund, we perhaps could turn this game from the perspective of the victim to the perspective of the perpetrator. So we might design the game that the player will act as the arm dealer. So we actually wanted to do this way to make the player to like treat the war as some sort of a transactional business, or and then allows the player to struggle to live a life for just only for generates incomes for themselves. So in this way, we want to like have a kind of ironic angle to make the player to hate the process of making war. That's one of the angle that we did considered.
Interesting. So yeah, I guess that would create like this. I don't know. You could potentially make like a asymmetric multiplayer where you have like one person playing kind of like the bad guy that wants the war to continue, and then like 5 other people with the family that are not trying to get it to continue. Is that about what kind of what you're talking about?
Right. A part of it. So that the major point is we want to, if we could have time, we might just change the entire background of our story, reverse from the victim parts to the arm dealer part. So we just want the player to like slaughter life for fun or slaughter life for business in such ways to make them hate the game.
Interesting. Hmm. So I'm assuming you did some like background research into your game. I was wondering if there's anything interesting that you found that you may have like incorporated into your game or that inspired you.
Right. So in our research stage, most of us just went through some videos and some papers. But most interestingly is it surprised me is what we found, the footage. What we found are um, are just the numbers, or actually what kind of forces are involved in the war. But for some specific footage, like the footage for direct war or about the crossfire, we it's kind of missing on the internet, or is somehow it's hard to find.
Hmm.
And for that part, we just find out maybe the general atmosphere for the international society is just to uh, they want to pay more attention to the effects of the war instead of the war itself. So that idea also kind of change our um, game design phase, because we were shifting from creating games for the average adults, or some the peoples who live in war zone as a citizens, towards to the individuals, like the children's, or the little families, into more individuals perspective of it.
Interesting, interesting. Um. Okay, easy question. How long does your game take to play?
Right. Our estimate time will be around 30 to 45 minutes, but it really depends on how well the player collaborate with each other, because our game basically is a collaborative based game. So if the player just will refuse to work as a team, or they prefer to work individuals more than as a team, they probably will end up faster than we expected.
Interesting. So is your game completely cooperative?
Yes, our game is completely cooperative.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, interesting. Okay. So we're running out of time a little bit. You have anything else you would like to say?
Right. I really appreciate having us to create the games. It is the process of creating Transformative game really refresh our thinking of making the game not just only for fun, but actually has some meanings inside it. Also, have the great credits to my teammates, Cloud and Nadia. Just really appreciate the hard work they put on. And then thank you so much for creating the course. It's really fun. Really
Yeah,
nice experience.
no problem. I'm glad to hear. Yeah. So thanks so much, Alvin.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to Team 1 4. Which should show up.
Hello.
There. Oh. That's what I'm gonna find you.
Hello.
There. Well, if you have my stream on, if you could like mute that.
Hello.
There. One sec. You hear me? Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, we're going to play your video and then we will get into the interview.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning and walk 6 kilometers to collect water? Introducing Walk for Water, a cooperative survival game where 3 to 4 players role-plays the lives of children living in a village in Nigeria, collecting water for their family's daily necessities. Players go on a treacherous journey where they have to work together to overcome obstacles that will affect their chance of getting home on time for school. Through the elements of chance, luck, and strategy, players will experience the sacrifices and challenges that children go through living in an environment where water cannot be easily accessible. This game is perfect to play at social gatherings, where teamwork and cooperation is the key to win. Not only is the game fun and interactive, but you will develop a better understanding of the impacts that water shortage has on children's education and their future. Through this game, you will feel empowered to make a difference to help make clean and accessible water a reality for these communities.
All right. So we just got done watching your project pitch video. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your game?
Yeah, our game is called Work of Future. The main idea we were addressing is water scarcity, that's specifically how the issue is affecting children's education and future. And our premise is set in a village in Nigeria, which is the most severe country that suffers water scarcity. And each player plays a different child who is responsible for fetching water at the river every morning. And the goal of the game is that the players have to work together to fetch all the water, which is in total 10 liters per child, within 40 minutes before their school starts. On the way they fetch water, they will encounter different events that may slow them down or help them go through the obstacles. So if the players cannot reach home in time, they will not able to able to attend school.
Interesting. So is there like a specific area or place you're like targeting with this like story or problem?
Yeah, because based on our research, we found that water scarcity not only affect their health but also their education. It will like because they have to fetch water every morning before school starts, so it will affect their attendance or their academic performances. For example, like they will suffer muscle pain or diarrhea, etc., and that will affect their academic performance. So we would like to design a game that would let the players to empathize with their situation and could maybe donate to the water project that help them to get clean water.
Okay, interesting. I guess how would you like your players to like feel while like playing your game?
We would like them to enjoy this exciting and engaging atmosphere where they are having fun, but also critically thinking about each decision they make in the game, because they're going to cooperate with each other to get uh, uh, the 10 liter of water per child. And we also would like them to uh, emphasize with the situations, their role, their play characters are facing during the gameplay, and also be informated where they acquire new knowledge through the game's mechanics and storyline.
Oh. Also, I see that you have a clock here. How does that work, and how does it help you, like, in terms of like the way you want your players to feel while playing the game?
The clock, we set the time limit to 40 minutes because in real situation, the child had to get up, for example, like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. to fetch the water because they need to like use much time to walk from home to the well or riverbed to get water and then back home, and then they need to finish fetching water before school starts. So we like to give them a time limit so that they can feel the tense and also simulate to the real situation.
Yeah, no, I do like the immersion there, where, like, if this is how long they actually have to get water in the morning, that you would have to do that in the game time as well. Yeah, and it kind of like puts that like pressure on, which is nice. So with all that being said, like, what message do you really want your players to come away with, or what do you want them to like learn?
We think that children deserve to have proper education and access to clean water, and they should not have to sacrifice their time and health fetching for water every day to meet their daily needs. So we hope the players feel empowered to support water charities that can help those children to get easier access to water.
Okay. I kind of asked this before, but is there like a specific country or town or anything that you're basing this off of?
Yeah, we used to focus on the sub-Saharan Africa, but we narrowed down into one country, which is Nigeria, because it is the most severe country that suffer water scarcity.
Interesting. So doing your background research and everything, like, is there anything that, for example, like if your players are really empowered to go do something, is there anything that they can go do to help?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Oh, so like if somebody's like really worried about the situation and realizes that it's a real thing, I was wondering if you found any like resources or organizations or anything that people can like actually help these people that are struggling.
Yeah. So to like let the players know about the water project. So at the end of the game, are allowed to flip the road cards, and then they will see the link to the water project, so they can like search the link, and then it will guide them to the water project, and then they can donate, help them.
Oh, I see. Interesting. And you have like the World Vision here as well, because I'm assuming that's like the organization.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, okay, that's really cool. What was like the hardest thing like designing this game, especially like designing like a transformative game rather than just something for fun?
Sorry, what was the question again?
The question is like, what was the difficulties you had like designing a transformative game?
Oh, yeah. So we, because we were focusing on like having a connection to the role so that the players can actually empathize with the children, and we had a difficulty to like link let the players link with the roles, because some of the playtesters in the feedback they mentioned that the idea of having the background stories are interesting were interesting, but it did not help them to engage in the game. So to improve that, we changed the premise a bit to we focus on children instead of focus on the mothers. And then we also add dreams to their background story. For example, like these children want to become a doctor or a teacher in the future. So because we think that players would empathize more with the children other than adults, so we changed our target audience a bit. So we hope that will help them to link to the roles better.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's really smart because, especially because children are obviously the most helpless in most of those situations. So I think it's probably good to, tie into that. And I also like how, while you have kind of getting back to school as your premise of just like kind of tying those into the characters as well, of like, oh, well, if they can't get back to school, or if they have to deal with these difficulties, then maybe they can't become a doctor or never have the opportunity to actually attend like higher schooling. So yeah, I really like that. What? Well, you mentioned playtesting. I was gonna ask how long it takes you to play your game, but how long is the timer? Like 30 minutes, 40 minutes?
40 minutes.
Okay. Um, I guess, what do you think the most useful thing is that you learned when designing games in general? So it can be this game or any other game that you designed during this course.
So I think in this course, because we didn't take other board game design course before, so I think it's really interesting and like help us to know like communication skills more in this course. And also, this is an interesting try that we create our own board game, and we also know more about the like the game mechanics, and then what we need to be considered during we design the rules and then the visuals. And I think those skills can also be used in further courses, for the CET courses. I think like the the thinking strategies and yes, things like that could help us to like be used in other CET courses.
Oh, yeah. So it sounds like you actually got a lot of this course, which I'm glad to hear. Yeah, I guess is there anything else you can think about that you want to say about your game?
Yeah, so for the future improvement, I think we can create more different events and the resources cards, because right now we have like uh, around 15 cards, so we would like to make more so that it would be more fun and more surprise to the players.
Some more event cards is what you said?
Event card and the resource and then the rewards card.
Oh, okay. How exactly do your events and reward cards work?
Um, so there are like 14 resource cards right now, and then 14 events card, and then 8 rewards cards. So it's not that much. So if we have time to improve that, I think we could add more cards to it.
Sure. Okay. By the way, I just wanted to say that Meow Meow Cat said in chat that they love how fast-paced your game is. Yeah, and I think that's about it, unless you have anything else.
Nope. Thank you for all the playtesters and Noah.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for the interview. And yeah. See ya.
Yeah.
All right. On to our final team, which is Team 1-5. Team 5. Growing pains. Oh, here we go. Okay. I'm going to start with playing the video. All right. So video just ended. And I believe we have Anna in the call. Are you there? You have to undeafen yourself and just if you can fix it. So you should just be able to undeafen yourself. So there's a little mic button at the bottom that says deafen, and if you unclick, wait, I might be able to undeafen you. Oh yeah, so now you're just muted. So if you unmute the button left of that, and then it should work. Can you at least click that? Because there's the button right next to deafen, and then it'll at least remove it from your profile. Otherwise, I can probably jump in a Zoom call quick. So. Yeah. It's the link from before, so you can join the like pre-meeting link. It's my link, not Bernard's. Here. Message. All right, I DM'd it to you in Discord. I DM'd it to you in Discord, so you should be able to find it in the top left of your Discord. And then that's the Zoom link. I'll also post it in the showcase.
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you.
Oh, I'm so sorry for that. I think something wrong with the system setting.
Yeah, it's all good. Do you want to just tell me about your game? Do you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so our theme of the predicting issue is about school bullying, and we all heard about this during the school life, but to intervene or sorry, I think there's an echo of my voices.
You just have to mute the stream.
Is this okay?
Yep.
But I cannot. Okay, sure. So our theme of the presenting issue is about school bullying, and we all heard about this during our school life, but to intervene or stopping it, it really requires the whole community to make efforts. And most of the time, we are the bystander and spectator of the bullying events. So we rarely experience what is the feeling of being bullied. So our game is a role-playing collaborative survival games. In our game, we offer a perspective of the victim of the bullying event. The players are actually role-playing the target students who has high risk of being bullied. Players in our game need to adapt their new perspective and try to keep themselves survive, which is keeping their stress level below 20. So during the game process, they also need to handle different bullying events as they landed on the event room. They will make choices if they would like to help other victims or they choose to be the bystander, just ignoring them. And most importantly, they need to realize that only cooperatively working together, they can win the game eventually.
Interesting. So what what is the message that you're trying to give to players after they are done playing your game?
So our message is actually wish to help build our players' awareness towards the impact and consequence of the school bullying, because we kind of want to build a message based on the spectator's perspective, because most of us are not the victim of the bullying events, so we might lack of the connection to those victims. So in our game, by let them playing the role, we kind of want to adding more connection between players and the victim of the bullying events. Yes, and we wish through the gameplay they could, when they back to the real life, they could resonate their empathy towards them and stimulating them to do some practical action to help avoiding the school bullying in the futures.
So it's kind of to give the experience of being the victim. Am I right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but also they also need to make choices to decide whether to help other victims. So it's actually kind of two identity of the players. So sometimes if you are not the victim of the triggered events, you need to really think about if you're willing to be a spectators, or you need to you're willing to help them. Yes.
Interesting. So do you have that in the mechanics of your game where you can help people that are being bullied?
Oh yes. So our main core play is just a player can move in each direction, so they can choose to move to any direction one side per round. Once they landed to different rooms, they can follow the instruction writing on the event room. And for our play, there are 4 types of rooms. So one is the event room. So the event room will trigger one school bullying event. So once player landed on it, the player will check if they are the victim of the trigger event. So if the player's role-playing character is the victim of the bullying event, the player will add a stress point as written on cards. So, but if they are not the role-playing characters, which means they are not the victim of the event, they need to make choices to decide whether to help the suffering victims. So if a player choose to help, they kind of helping the victim bearing with their suffering points. So 2 stress points will be added to the player who decided to help them. But if you decided to choose ignore to be a bystander, there will be nothing added on your stress level. Yes, but eventually our game mechanism will benefit those players who have higher stress level, they would have more chances to gathering the item cards, which are very important to unlock the special rooms, it can directly lead to the winning state of the game. Yes. So, so it's seemingly you choose to ignore that is not affecting you, but in a long-term perspective, if you choose to help, that will eventually help you win the game.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of cool, like, interesting mechanics here. Because like, I do really like the fact that like one person gets bullied and then everybody kind of like watches, right? So it kind of like resembles, especially like at least for me when I was in grade school, like you always stayed with the same kids. So like if anybody's getting bullied, you like always see it, right? But I also really like how like if you do something, it also takes like a burden on you, right? Because obviously it's much easier to ignore. I was actually wondering, like, what if there's any like consequences to ignoring, or if you just get off scot-free.
So if you choose to ignore it, currently there are no big consequences on them because we are considering to integrating the reality into our game, like trying to integrate it, because most of us we cannot help others might because of many subjective reasons in the real life. So we just want to like add it a point to let player can be like realize or awareness that help is eventually is what we should do. But if you are not choosing help, there's no like significant consequences on the players.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, so I was wondering if you had any insights to like your biggest challenges in this game, or like when designing this game, or like specifically like your challenges designing a transformative game versus, you know, maybe like the first two that we did in the course.
Yes. So I think one of the biggest challenge is to how to integrate our like intended message into the game mechanism. So actually the key mechanism, like to let the player decide whether to help or not, is it is a role that we added later. So initially, it's a different role. So we're trying to like integrating with real life situations. But also, I think besides how to like integrating all those messages to a game mechanism, because our game involves with many numbers added or reduced it. So we kind of working on it to try to find the balance points on how to calculate each points lost or points added. So I think this part is the most time-taking part for our to develop this game.
Interesting. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I guess running out of time a little bit. Is there anything else that you would like to say about your game or anything?
So so actually, I think the research section of the transformative game really help us a lot to help us define the perspective of the gameplays. So we did a lot of research about like the bystander and spectators role in preventing the school bullying. So it seems like we are not the protagonist of this event, but being spectators and the majority is really a determining factors to affect how the school bullying is going on. So sometimes it's not because like we are not the victim, so we are not care about this. If you want to like preventing and avoiding this from happening, we really need to like think about how can improve it from a community scale, like from a bigger scales to as a team or a community to help intervene this from happening. Yes.
Sure. Interesting. Yeah, I totally agree. That like bystanders are definitely the ones to probably focus on, especially because, you know, the the people that are doing the bullying and the people that are being bullied are obviously very involved, and then people just don't want to be involved because it'll negatively affect them or something. So I really like the way that you took this with the transformative topic. Yeah, and I think we are out of time, but thank you for the interview.
Okay, thank you for having us. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yep, see ya. All right. So for the final part of the stream, which will be just about like 15 minutes, we're going to bring Bernard back in. So if anybody has any questions for Bernard, that would be great. Otherwise, there's some things me and him can discuss. Hi, are you here?
Yes.
Okay.
You know.
Oh, let me switch.
Oops, that's huge.
Yeah, one sec. All right. I think the best way to do this would be to go to gallery, and then I'm just going to do this and this. All right. Hey. So, yeah.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks so much, Noah, for hosting this. This is quite exciting, and I was really glad that we were able to share this to a much broader audience this way.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, I mean, you ask the students a lot of questions. Is it okay if I ask you some questions as well?
Sure.
Yeah, I just was wondering, like, how was it for you to actually teach this class online? Like, is there anything interesting you realized or learned also when playtesting the different games that were designed to be transformative? What is your take on that?
It's definitely interesting and tricky. I enjoyed like pretty much every part of it, but kind of like trying to like learn how to use Tabletop Simulator as like a teaching tool, and kind of using that because like when you teach it, I've taught this course a couple times, and when you teach it in real life, like nobody doesn't know how to like play a normal board game, but kind of having to overcome that challenge of software. But then also like I feel like teams were actually potentially able to playtest more remotely, just because they didn't actually have to meet up in person. So that was nice. In terms of the transformative part, it's super interesting. It's really difficult to, I think, get all of to kind of like get transformative games together that actually make sense that work. So luckily, we kind of took a lot more time this course or compared to courses than before, and I think it really paid off because I think in the end, the transformative ideas and the topics that the student chose and the execution of them were done very well. So.
Yeah, I agree. It would be so interesting to see, like, where would students take it if we would have a longer semester, or if there would be a second part of this course. Because I think a lot of the projects are super promising, but designing a game that really works well with the mechanics and is nicely balanced, obviously that's really a craft. And so it would be so cool to see, okay, where could this be taken? So maybe it's almost like this could be an interesting capstone project or something where you really go deeper into a specific topic.
Yeah, no, I think that would be amazing. Like I think I really love and I'm impressed with how far like the teams made it, but we only had
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
3-4 weeks to do it, right? So what could you actually do with 3-4 months? Like that would be amazing.
In a way, I think Tabletop Simulator, I guess once you get used to it, the basics and all of these kind of things are relatively easy to do. So you don't spend too much time on the prototyping, which I think is good.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that sometimes actually took longer with physical, and also if you take Unity. So in a way, it might actually work relatively well. So I'm actually considering whether we should continue to use it even if we go back to physical, because then it's a lot easier for people to meet. Because you can meet in person, but you don't have to, or one person can kind of remotely, these kind of things.
Yeah, that's totally true. And like while it would be better to play test like with the other team observing, like if you put it on Steam, then other teams can just play test your game and give you feedback just like at any time. So there's tons of advantages. And I think as much as you can't do like physical like throwing games as easy in tabletop, like you can also add scripting. So there's like ways to make the board games easier and better as well.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's really hard is physical skills. I think there's even ways to throw objects and so on and have the physics and so on do things. But I think maybe that's not the best usage of that because it's still mouse operated. So there's something about the physicality that is really interesting. But maybe a tabletop simulator could be a way to prototype even a physical game where just as a way to more quickly iterate and get feedback from different people, and maybe also more diverse audiences. Like if you wanted to play test with a different group of people that you normally don't have access to. I mean, yes, it needs to be somebody who knows how to use Tabletop Simulator, but yeah, you can easily test with different cultures, different backgrounds, different kind of people, and so
Totally.
I think there's some value in that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also want to mention it was really nice because like I played quite a few board games, so there were certain teams that were kind of going towards a certain genre, and then I would suggest like, hey, I played like this game before. You should really go play that for inspiration. And then since it's just available on the Steam Workshop for free, they actually can just go and play that game. You know, where before it either had to be physically in the library or they had to buy it themselves, which is a massive barrier to entry. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think often COVID kind of forced us to learn things and to try things out. So it kind of broke the inertia that you often have in terms of like, okay, let's just continue the same way. Now it's clear, okay, if you want to make this work, we have to completely rethink. And sometimes that's actually good, or at least I think that's what we can learn from this is to stay flexible, to stay agile, and to really keep improving. But that's also where I think for me the feedback was super important to be able to actually do that.
Totally.
So if you were to TA that class again, is there anything you would do differently where you're like, oh yeah, I think that's something that we can further improve on?
I definitely think that like it's so useful to like play the team's games. So I would have started doing that like earlier on. I did towards the later half of the course, but it's just like it's so amazing and it's so nice to just have that like close interaction and have those like learning experiences happen like kind of like before your eyes. So that would be nice. And I don't know, off the top of my head, there are like a lot of little things. I don't know big things.
But I agree with the
Yeah.
playtesting. I mean, I was so busy preparing this course and getting everything to work. I feel like for an online class, you have to be a lot more prepared because it's harder to wing it. And if people get lost in a breakout room, don't know what to do, it makes it a lot harder. So what I hope is next time I teach the class, I'd actually have a lot more time to actually try out the games and really play them, because that's something that was kind of missing this time, because there just wasn't enough time with all the planning and preparation and making sure things actually work.
Yeah, but that's also the beautiful thing about teaching like board game design is like is you know one of the issues with trying to teach is trying to like get people involved and get engaged in activities, right?
Yeah.
But then like that's the whole point of board games is people being engaged and working together or whatever. So then it was really nice that we could kind of throw like teaching about like designing for transformative experiences on top of board games because like you're already engaging with making games and then kind of adding that other like layer of teaching on top.
Yeah, I mean, this also overlaps a bit with what you do for your own research, right? Do you want to talk a bit about that connection, or how maybe your research inspired your TAing, or the other way around?
Yeah, a little bit. So I do research on transformative experiences and specifically interested in looking at accommodation. And accommodation of an experience is kind of when you have a perceptual experience that conflicts with something with your previous preconceptions, and then you think about things differently. And that's kind of what we were trying to have the students learn about and try to design their games for in this course was how do we take this concept that you probably know like a little bit about and then present some like new information in order to kind of like change your perspective or make you like look at something a little bit differently and like how you starting that conceptual change is kind of what I wanted to teach in this course. And then in my research, I want to look at like what do you do with that conceptual change and like how do you integrate it into yourself or into your world, or once that's integrated, like how does that potentially like change your behavior or how you talk to people or think. So yeah,
Yeah, and I mean the whole ideal research field of transformative experience design, a lot comes from virtual reality, which is obviously a lot more immersive. But I feel like there's something to learn from the game design world, especially in terms of rules and mechanics, but also the whole notion of this magic circle by basically agreeing to be in there. It's almost like you more actively decide you're part of that and you suspend your disbelief and your normal behavior. And so I think I'm quite excited about bringing these different areas together. And I mean, in virtual reality, yes, you have a lot more sensory stimuli, but um, I'm not sure you always need as much. So I think that's the exciting thing about games. It's almost like a design constraint to see how far can you really push that medium if you take the inspiration from different fields.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the thing that I love, and I think that's so important, especially when like drilling in these concepts or trying to create a conceptual conflict, is just that experiential learning of like being there in the environment and making choices and seeing how that like affects you or the environment itself, right? So we had so many like cool games today that like showed that, right? Whether it was with like climate change or procrastination or like getting water before school because you have to, right? And like having to like live that like stressful experience of trying to get water before the time runs out so you can actually like participate.
Yeah, I really also was impressed by how people took topics they're sometimes really interested themselves and made a game out of it. And now I hope we can get the tabletop games. So next time we teach it, the next generation of students can actually try this out because there's so much you can learn from trying it out and playing and reading about it. And then seeing, you talked about experiential learning. I think yes, if you experience that yourself, I think then there's a whole different level. So yes, we can talk about the theory, but experiencing that yourself and bringing these two aspects together, I think that's really where the rubber meets the road and where learning on a much deeper level can actually happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and it's so cool that these are online now, right? Because you need a physical copy in the past. So we can actually easily give access to like future classes and kind of like make a recursive nature of both inspiration and learning.
Exactly. I mean, I wish with the previous classes we would have kept or could have kept the physical board games, basically, so others can play. But even then, there would be only one copy, and it might degrade over time. So yeah, I think that's quite an exciting future.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Right, and just checking the time, I think we said we officially end at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
So yeah, well, thanks everybody for joining in, for watching. Thanks for all this to all the students for designing, for going deep, for sharing their work, for allowing themselves to be interviewed live. So I really appreciate that. And of course, Noah, thanks so much for emceeing and hosting this session on Twitch. This is quite exciting, and I hope we can do this in the future again.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, no, I love this semester and this showcase, and yeah, I'm excited for things going forward.
All right, then thanks everybody for joining online. Thanks, Noah, and we'll keep posting updates on the website. So in about a week, we should have the full project videos if you want to know more. And then if you get permission for the games to play online, we'll also add those things in there.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you all later.
Bye.